conflicts across the world, but I maintain that the biggest war that the human civilization will still have to contend with is the war against global warming. It will be yet our biggest war, because the environment will not be defeated by arms. It will be defeated by our own restraint, by our own decision to put back and give back some of nature's gifts. This is the message from our annual tree planting campaign. As we cut trees to build homes, as we cut trees to burn fuel, as we cut trees to make paper, we must have the presence of mind to plant more trees. This is the only way that our climate can endure. Our government has led from the front, showing our sensitivity to the threat of global warming and our readiness to embrace mitigation and adaptation techniques. These are for us life-saving and property prevention measures, as the provision of vehicles and guns for police. That is one level of life-saving, empowering law enforcement. But there is another level of life-saving, protecting the environment.
Climate change is defined by scientists as the increase in the atmospheric temperature over a period of time. Climate change is caused by the emission of greenhouse gases. You have an envelope over the surface of the earth, about 33 kilometers from the surface of the earth. That is like a blanket made up of gases, different gases, carbon dioxide, oxides of carbon, nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, and this blanket screens the sun ray from going into the earth 100%. When the rays of the sun penetrate into the earth, it reflects back about 50%. If not, the earth will be so cold, about minus 18 degrees centigrade, and it will not be able to sustain life. So because it retains some heat, so the earth surface is able to sustain life. About 50% is now reflected back into the atmosphere. But when the greenhouse gases, which most of it is carbon dioxide, is now high in the atmosphere, it retains the heat, and that is why it's called heat trapping gases. These greenhouse gases are called heat trapping gases. So when they get to the earth's surface, it absorbs the heat, and what is reflected back into the atmosphere is now less than what should be reflected, and so it leads to warming of the earth. It is the effect of it is called climate change. So the climate change is a global scourge.
No doubt, the declining state of the world's environment has been a major subject of discussion in international circles. The obvious fact is that industrialization and commercialization have had adverse effect on the health of the world's environment, and experts fear this might become disastrous. Ozone layer depletion, devastating ocean surges, the melting of the polar ice caps, and lots more are all said to be the very serious signs of the Earth's movement towards disaster. Researchers have shown that it is obvious the coastal erosion challenge of Lagos State is a fallout of this increasing threat to the environment. For Nigeria, the carbon footprint is very high, and an urban center like Lagos contributes its fair share. Furthermore, the state, being a littoral state, has peculiar environmental challenges such as flooding arising from its location on the banks of the Atlantic Ocean and the lagoons, which naturally overflows from time to time during the rainy season. The problem has been compounded by the erection of houses in floodplains, drainages, further obstruction of water flow with the dumping of refuse into the drainages. In a nutshell, all these challenges have contributed greatly to the decadence plaguing our environment today.
The most effect of it is that the ice caps are melting because of this heat, and so you now have the waters going into the oceans and the rivers, and so they cause sea level rise. So when there's sea level rise, then there's flooding, and it's the greatest environmental challenge of our time. And in Lagos, because Lagos by its terrain is has a low water level and is also under the sea level. So when there is sea level rise, there is flooding. So also because of the pollutants, because Lagos is a metropolitan city, and you know the statistics about the number of cars that ply our roads, number of generators, because over 3,000 industries are sited in Lagos, so there's a lot of pollution, emission of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And that's why in Lagos we felt that we can climate change is real, and so we started early when other nations or other states didn't even think there is need for climate, when they were still doubting. We knew that climate change was real, and we started having strategies, to mitigate the impact of climate change. And the cheapest form of mitigating it is to plant trees. And from your basic science, plants use that carbon dioxide that is a problem, that is heat trapping, and they now give us oxygen which we need to breathe, and so thereby they reduce the impact of that heat warming gas, that is carbon dioxide. And so it also cleanses the air because it releases oxygen for us during the process of photosynthesis, whereby starch are made for the plants to feed on. So it is the cheapest means of mitigating climate change, that is reducing the emission of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
There is no doubt that global warming is real, and its effect on the extreme weather condition around the world has drawn a wake-up, as we are not immune to its effects, especially with a series of tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and extraordinary floods like we have experienced in Lagos in 2011. As a direct response, the greening initiative of the Lagos state government was conceived, not just to beautify the environment, but as a deliberate effort to mitigate the effects of climate change, protect our future, and save our environment. Hence, Operation Green Lagos is part of the administration's policy thrust in environmental sustainability through infrastructural renewal and poverty alleviation. It is also one of the most viable evidence of good governance by this administration, which has continued to attract both local and international commendation for the state for the step taken in its tree planting, landscaping, and beautification programs.
Everything about the mitigation of climate change started with the Ministry of the Environment, and there were so many programs and projects towards that. One of it is the annual hosting of the Climate Change Summit, and which brings professionals together every year to deliberate on the effect of climate change and how to mitigate it, and specifically tailored towards what strategies can Lagos State put in place to address it. So apart from that, there was an aggressive beautification and landscaping program started by the Ministry of Environment, the Conservation and Ecology Department, in an attempt to reclaim degraded areas, open spaces in the state. And also now we started aggressive tree planting in 2008 to add to it, so that we can holistically address and tackle the scourge of climate change. So, but the question was, how can government sustain this? That was the question. Everybody started asking, okay, beautiful, you are landscaping, you have all these gardens and parks, how are you going to mitigate? So why LASPARK is because we want sustainability on the green initiative of Lagos State government. When you have an agency dedicated solely to manage and to address the issue of greening, then you are sure that that agency, which is backed by law, can function and then sustain what the department in the Ministry of Environment has done.
Before this administration, we were aware that the environment is so dirty, everywhere is littered, people burn bushes, people fell trees, people walk on grasses, not even minding that the oxygen that we breathe in, we get it from all this greenery. But after the greenery initiative, I think there is a lot of improvement. So, and maybe I should analyze the effects. It's going to be in three ways. It has environmental effect, it has social effect, and it has economic effect as well. I think I will start with the environmental effect. The environmental effect, when we look at our environment, we all see before the present administration, the whole environment is dirty. We have a lot of hideouts, we have a lot of dirty places. But by the time the governor started this greenery initiative, a lot of all these places have been converted into gardens, into parks, where people go and they relax. And in the long run, I think Lagosians are much healthier. That's environmentally. Then the social effect. When we look at it, socially, we'll see that the idea of government in terms of this greenery initiative is it's a very laudable one, because initially, before the greenery initiative, you will see that we have the people visit hospitals a lot. So socially, it's not just the aesthetic value that people should see, that, oh, Lagos State Governor is after greenery, is after making the environment beautiful. But the indirect effect is on our health. I think the governor will want us to be healthier, or he wants us to be healthier in Lagos, rather than for us to visit hospitals. So in the long run, the effect of the greenery is on our health. It's not just the beautification that people see, but the multiplier effect is that Lagosians are much healthier.
It is a fact that decent environment plays a vital role in determining the quality of human life, while the quality of human life depends not only on adequate provision of nutritious food, but also on living in a functional and decent environment with enough recreational facilities for purposeful leisure pursuits. For an administration that knows the importance of a functional and decent environment, a lot has been put in place since the realization of this worldwide challenge by adopting the cheapest ways of combating climate change. As a responsive and responsible government, it is believed that there is no better time to address these ugly threats to our lives and that of our next generation other than now, through the greening initiative such as planting of trees and creation of parks and gardens. The importance of the greening program of the state government, which includes tree planting and creation of parks and gardens across the state, cannot be overemphasized, especially in a city like ours, for the purpose of improving our physical and psychological health, to make the environment and neighborhoods more beautiful places to live and work in.
Environment is a key thing. When you say green, without green you cannot survive. So that's why it's very important. Green the oxygen is what we take out of the plants, we make use of, and then what the plants give out is what we take. So the important of the environment is so much. To the extent that it makes sure it filters the environment, it brings about beauty, it increases the oxygen around, promote aesthetic. It's a lot.
Indeed, the benefits are endless, as parks and gardens provide a diverse range of benefits that immensely improve the quality of life of the people.
The essence of having parks and gardens is to create room for people to relax. People also need to relax. People need to holiday. When you have a weekend and there's no space for people to go and play around with their children, with friends, then they could do harm. But if they go out there, they have free air, they have a conducive environment to play, I think it will help in creating, improving creativity, in the society.
Parks offer the opportunities to enrich the quality of the air and therefore life for diverse kinds of people, as research has shown that when people have access to parks, they relax and exercise more, which translates to improved health and reduction in the risks of a wide range of diseases, including heart diseases, hypertension, amongst others. At the community level, parks play a special role. They have something to offer everyone from young children and teens to families, adults, and the elderly, as their presence can also be a cohesive force. They are more than places to recreate and relate with nature because parks can also offer a multitude of opportunities to engage in arts and music. As well, parks can be a community focal point, a symbol of its vitality and character, adding to its overall health, well-being, and quality of life.
Then we need our children to grow up and understanding that we need parks and places where they can meet as community and exchange, because you find our youth today, they hardly greet each other. They don't greet elder ones. They don't know who is their neighbor. So when you have a community park, it's a meeting point where youths and middle-aged people can communicate and meet each other. Say, oh, do you live around here? Oh, I see you come here every time. It's a way of meeting one another. And so in that regard, it's good for the psyche. It's good for integrating the community.
Furthermore, contacts with natural habitats improve physical and psychological health, since adults with access to recreational prospects profit from the social connections and interactions that are fundamental to their well-being. Indeed, parks have been recognized as key contributors to the aesthetic and physical quality of neighborhoods. For the agency saddled with the responsibility of developing parks and gardens in the state, the Lagos State Parks and Gardens Agency, LASPARK, it has been a challenging but fruitful journey for an agency whose enabling law came into effect on August of 24th, 2011.
I'd like to thank our House of Assembly for passing the law, the bill which I proposed to them a few years ago, which resulted in the establishment of the Lagos Parks and Gardens Commission. That Parks and Gardens Commission is what you now see under the acronym LASPARK. It will take over, and indeed it has taken over, the good work that the Ministry of Environment has started with greening and tree planting. So it is an agency now solely dedicated to managing all the parks and gardens in Lagos State, planting more trees, creating more parks, and creating more gardens. You will already see, those of you who are observant, that some of our trees are already being pruned down. That is the Commission doing its work ahead, knowing that the rains will come, knowing that dead branches need to be pruned. They've already gone out and done that. Nobody, and indeed it is an offense, to cut down any tree without the permission of the Commission. The Commission is the sole custodian of all the trees that we have named, and we have tagged all trees in Lagos, and we have a record of them.
Since inception, the agency has 197 parks and gardens across the state. Prominent among these parks are the Akaba Shorun Parks at Bagada, the Ojota Loop, Muriokwala Parks in Victoria Island, Dolphin Parks at Ikoyi, Heritage Parks at Oshodi, Beko Ransom Kuti Parks in Antoni, Gani Faoemi Parks in Ojota, the Freedom Parks also at Ojota, Akbakun Parks along the Airport Road Ikeja, amongst many others. Meanwhile, there is also the Ekpe Roundabout and Badagry Roundabout beautification and landscaping, which are for beautification purposes, that is, people can go there for leisure. There is also what is called the scenic parks, like what we have at Onikpan and Fadeyi Scenic Parks, Bolade PWD Median, and the Funcho Williams. These scenic parks are created for sightseeing.
We have looked at the functionalities of these parks and also how Lagosians can benefit most. And we have categorized these parks and gardens into three. The first category are the scenic parks, which we will not find garden furniture seats in them, which are just to enhance the aesthetics of the environment. Most of them have been reclaimed. They are reclaimed open spaces. We have the community parks. The community parks are those ones that are near people, that the agency of state governments have developed and then handed over to communities for relaxation. So those ones are managed by those communities. We have one in Kane Street in Surulere, Kane Street in Surulere. So it is being managed by the resident association. So people go there for relaxation. Everything about the security of the park is managed by the association. Public event parks. These are parks that people can use for events and programs like exhibitions, like seminars, like having small gatherings, and then they pay for that. So for those ones, the onus lies on the agency to make sure that the parks and the gardens are secured. So we provide security, provide security for those ones.
Combating climate change with the greening programs has ensured that the state continues to be a reference point, as over 4.6 million trees have been planted on various routes across the state, thereby creating job opportunities in the process.
We are starting to imbibe it, because when you really look, most people go outside this country, not necessarily to Europe, even West African countries. You see the way green is being cherished. But unfortunately, in Nigeria, or in Lagos in particular, maybe because of the millions of inhabitants in Lagos, they fail to see that the effect of green is not just it's not just that the plants are just there for beautification only, but it is for their own health. So apart from this, I think there are a lot of other benefits that people are getting. One, I would rather say that when you look at, since governor has started this initiative, a lot of unemployed youths have been absorbed, because like I speak, I don't have less than 30 gardeners working with me. And if you look at it, there is a drastic reduction in the number of area boys, in the area of, and the number of miscreants, because most of these miscreants, before the greenery initiative, they are not really engaged, they are not occupied. But when you look around, there is a drastic fall, because a lot of them have been able to take food to the tables of their families, and it is part of this. It is one of the effects of this Governor Raji Fashola's greenery initiative.
Apart from the job creations and the resultant greener and healthier environment, the landscaping of these criminal hideouts has transformed these parks into recreational centers, thereby helping to reduce criminal activities. However, it is important that Lagosians support this government's initiative by respecting trees, parks, gardens, lawns, and railings put in place across the state, as they were provided with taxpayers' money. These should not be abused. Parks should not be turned into marketplaces, toilets, refuse dumps, or places where animals graze. Failure to control animals, or allowing their defecation, or engaging in an unhygienic use of fountains, pools, or water in the parks, gardens, and open spaces would be counterproductive, and as such must be discouraged.
Government is doing their own part, but Lagosians, on our own part, I think there is we need to know the need. We need to understand why this greenery, why it's so important to us. Most people, like when you even see people walking on grasses, when you see people destroying trees, when you see them burning bushes, you wonder that, do they really know the effect of the green at all? So I think from the government, on the part of the government, there still needs to be a lot of awareness. People don't really understand why the green is so important. It's so important because of our health, because the oxygen that we breathe in, it's from the green. And when the green is being destroyed, there is nothing to take inside except the dirty things, the waste.
With natural disasters occurring across the world as a result of the abuse of the environment, this is the time for everyone to have a rethink about our attitude to the environment. That we have not experienced monumental environmental tragedy should not be taken for granted as being immune from such. Thus, we must take our destiny into our hands and do all the needful to ward off avoidable natural calamities. It is therefore important for everyone to support the state government in protecting the parks and gardens across the state. Provision of parks on the part of the government is not enough. Maintenance remains a big issue. In a country where our adherence to the maintenance culture is quite low, the maintenance of these parks and gardens, trees, and the greening of our environment should be taken seriously so that they can serve the purpose for which they were created. While some parks have been named after some prominent individuals in the state, some have been handed over to the communities for closer maintenance, while some are being maintained by LASPARK. One thing is very clear. We, as individuals, will determine how our environment works for us. It is indeed a collective effort because as we protect nature, we lose nothing. We need to go back to nature, love it, embrace it, and care for it with passion because we do not have the capacity to live outside nature. It is indeed a work in progress as Lagos State remains a trailblazer in combating this worldwide challenge.